Have you ever dreamed of your younger self taking over your life? In The Substance, that fantasy oozes into a full blown nightmare. I'm Leisha. Welcome to Real Reckless Reviews, where bold visuals meet bold opinions and no performance gets a free pass. Today we're discussing The Substance, a goo-drenched fever dream by revenge director Coralie Fargeat, starring Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. This film doesn't just flirt with body horror. It wraps you in bubblegum pink, injects you with self-loathing, and dances on the graves of Hollywood's youth obsession. It's grotesque, it's feminist, and it's a satirical love letter written in blood and Botox. And yes, it's freaking fantastic. Aging isn't the villain here. It's the twisted obsession with youth, perfection, and the promise of a second chance, even if it's at a steep and bloody price. Elizabeth Sparkle, once a glittering icon of televised fitness, now finds herself obsolete, tossed aside by an industry that worships youth and discards experience like yesterday's workout tape. Alone, aging, and emotionally disfigured by society's obsession with perfection, she's offered a twisted lifeline: The Substance. A biotech serum promising transformation, rejuvenation, and escape. The catch? It doesn't just make her younger, it creates her younger self. A living, breathing duplicate named Sue, engineered to embody everything Elizabeth used to be and more. The rules are simple. Only one can exist in the real world at a time. Switch bodies every 7 days. Stay disciplined, stay in sync, and stay sane. But what happens when your reflection refuses to go back into the mirror? As the line between self-love and self-annihilation blurs, Elizabeth must battle for identity, agency, and sanity, while the monster she birthed grows stronger, prettier, and a lot more reckless. The movie begins with an unsettling experiment. A single egg yolk is injected with a mysterious substance and immediately split into two. This moment introduces the strange and transformative power of the substance. From there, we meet Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore, a former Hollywood icon whose fame has faded over time. Her legacy is literally crumbling like her damaged and worn star, bearing her name on the Walk of Fame. Things go from bad to worse when she's fired from her once popular aerobics show. Her producer Harvey, played by Dennis Quaid, claims they need someone younger to boost ratings, dismissing Elizabeth as past her prime. Soon after, Elizabeth is involved in a serious car accident and ends up in the hospital. While recovering, she receives a mysterious USB stick from a hospital worker who tells her she's the perfect candidate. Back home, she plugs the USB into her TV and watches a strange ad for the substance, a product that promises to restore youth and success. Feeling desperate and eager to reclaim what she's lost, Elizabeth chooses to take part in the program. After visiting a strange and secretive facility, Elizabeth receives the tools and instructions needed to begin using the substance. The guidelines are strict, though. She can only use the activator once, must take a stabilizer every day, and must switch off every 7 days. What that really means isn't immediately clear. Once Elizabeth injects herself with the activator, the horrifying truth is revealed. A new person, completely formed and identical in some ways, emerges violently from Elizabeth's body. Her original body is left injured on the bathroom floor, torn open down her back. This new figure is named Sue, played by Margaret Qualley. While the program claims Elizabeth and Sue are two parts of one person, they clearly have separate thoughts, memories, and awareness. Elizabeth survives the transformation. Sue helps stitch her up and connects her to a feeding system, keeping her stable during the days when Sue takes over. Sue quickly becomes everything Elizabeth used to be: successful, admired, and in the spotlight. She's chosen as the new face of Harvey's show and rapidly rises to fame, complete with a billboard of herself displayed right outside Elizabeth's apartment. When Elizabeth returns, she's forced to face the reality of Sue's success. The billboard is a painful reminder of the youth and attention Elizabeth once had but lost. Meanwhile, Elizabeth struggles. Her days are spent doing very little, eating unhealthy food and sinking into the couch, feeling disconnected from the life she used to lead. Sue begins to grow frustrated with Elizabeth's lack of effort and motivation. Her handling of the switch schedule becomes more careless, and eventually, she stays out longer than the required 7-day limit. The effects on Elizabeth are alarming. When she wakes up, one of her fingers has rapidly aged and appears decayed. She contacts the person who introduced her to the substance, but he offers no help. Later, Elizabeth encounters the hospital worker who originally presented the opportunity. Now aged and frail, he tries to warn her. Sue is becoming stronger and could eventually take her life. Despite this, Elizabeth continues to spiral, while Sue becomes more determined to remain in control. Sue decides to ignore the program's rules entirely, focusing on preparing for her biggest appearance yet, the New Year's Eve broadcast. As Elizabeth's conditions worsen, Sue keeps living freely. She locks Elizabeth away in a hidden closet and spends her days celebrating and preparing for her upcoming New Year's Eve appearance. But just before the big night, Sue realizes she's run out of stabilizer fluid and she's forced to switch back to Elizabeth. When Elizabeth wakes up, her appearance has changed dramatically. She looks decades older, and most of her hair is gone, and her body is starting to undergo a disturbing physical transformation. Nothing like what she expected from the program. Panicked, Elizabeth contacts the substance team and asks for help ending the process. They provide a termination fluid that's supposed to safely eliminate Sue. Elizabeth brings Sue into the living room and begins the injection, but halfway through she hesitates. Seeing Sue's face on the billboard outside reminds her of the fame and youth she still longs for. The hesitation proves costly. The incomplete injection separates their connection, and both Elizabeth and Sue regain consciousness at the same time. When Sue realizes what Elizabeth tried to do, she reacts violently. Stronger and more energetic, Sue attacks Elizabeth. Unable to defend herself, Elizabeth is killed in a brutal assault. As Sue prepares for her big New Year's Eve show, things take a turn for the worse. Her body begins to fall apart. Her teeth fall out, her ear falls off, and her fingernails start peeling away. With Elizabeth now gone, Sue feels she has no other choice but to use the activator again. But instead of creating a fresh, youthful version of herself, the result is something entirely unexpected. A horrifying, mutated blend of Sue and Elizabeth. The new figure is disturbing and unnatural, resembling something more like a creature than a person. Despite its appearance, the creature still decides to go through with the show. It puts on a dress and some jewelry, and even glues a picture of Elizabeth's face on its own face. Somehow it gets to the theater and steps on the stage without raising alarm. At first. Once the crowd realizes the truth, panic spreads quickly. The audience screams, and although the creature tries to convince them by saying, "It's me," they respond with violence. The creature is attacked and even decapitated. but its hair grows back. As it begins to regenerate over and over, blood fills the studio. It eventually escapes the chaos, only to explode outside shortly after. Even then, something remains. A mutated form of Elizabeth's face continues to move, searching for safety. It crawls to her Hollywood Walk of Fame star, the symbol of her old life, and there it finally dies. The substance doesn't just look good, it looks violently fabulous. Every frame is a glitter drenched descent into biotech psychosis. The substance is not just horror, it's a manifesto in mascara. Beneath the dripping skin and biotech spasms is a vicious critique of how society treats aging women like expired coupons. It skewers youth worship, beauty standards, and the toxic fantasy of self reinventation. Demi Moore, she doesn't just play Elizabeth Sparkle, she devours her. From breakdowns to bloodbaths, she delivers a performance that's tragic, terrifying, and fabulously feral. Every sigh, scream, and syringe is soaked in rage and vulnerability. Margaret Qualley slithers in as Sue, a Gen Z Frankenstein with TikTok charm and dead-eyed ambition. She's terrifying because she's too perfect and too hungry to stay confined to someone else's schedule. Watching these two lock horns feels like watching trauma turn into performance art. The chemistry, toxic and delicious. The acting, raw with just enough glitter to blind you before it guts you. So, what did y'all think? Was The Substance a genius meltdown of beauty culture or a goose-licked fever dream that went off the rails? Did Demi Moore serve post-empowerment carnage or just existential skincare trauma? I want your thoughts, raw, unfiltered, and totally reckless. Let's turn this comment section into a bloody bubblegum therapy session. If your brain's still intact after that review, first off, congrats. You made it through The Substance, and honestly, that deserves a medal. Or maybe just a subscription. So hit that subscribe button like it owes you Botox. And like this video if you survived the blood, the beauty, and the biotech breakdown. What's next? Could be a twisted rom-com, a vintage slasher, or a documentary about haunted mannequins. I go with the chaos cause. New video drops soon. Until then, stay bold, stay reckless, and seriously, put the damn syringe down before your reflection starts making plans without you. Bye!